Support everything we do at MWP News by visiting co-fi.com/MWP News. Every donation helps us stay independent. For breaking entertainment news, reviews, and more, check out MWPnews.com. If you love games, head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming for reviews and gameplay. Links for all of this will be in the show notes, as well as links to the other podcasts. Thank you for your continued support. Good morning, or evening. Well, yeah, it's not tomorrow morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam on this. It is hot today. We're back to the heat, and I don't function well in the heat. Nor do I function well when I'm not doing great financially, which is part of the problem. We're here today to talk about Cardboard Towns, which is a new indie game. I did not write down the name of the developer. I should have. I don't think it's that new. I think it came out like 2 years ago. I think I saw it during a Next Fest a while back. I added it to my wish list, and now I've played it. And if you want to support the show and help us do cool things, you can go to ko-fi.com/MWP News. That is where you can help us, do our thing here. Because, my car is shit, and I'm afraid to say that out loud because I'm afraid to hear me be like, oh, really? You think it's bad now? But if you do that, you can help us out with cool things, and we can do more stuff. We haven't done a ton this year because the financial situation has been so bad. In general, it's a long story. We may go into it at some point. Who knows? But whatever. It is what it is. And I think we'll put something on the Ko-Fi page later about what we're going to do with people donating. Regardless. Cardboard Towns, which is this cute little roguelike, deck building roguelike. I guess would be the best way to call it would be deck building roguelike, but it's not, like, you don't really build a deck in it. It's not like, other games like Balatro or something like that, where it's like you have the deck and you can add to it or remove it, and it starts out the same each time. You can pick the kind of configuration of the deck. Because, there's not a ton that you can really do outside of the game. Because, when I hear, maybe it's just me misunderstanding what the genre really is. I think even, if you listen to it this way, Balatro doesn't even count. The idea that, you have a deck, and each time you go in, you can get a different, you can do things. Then you can earn something to upgrade your stuff, and then try again with the upgraded stuff and try different play styles. Balatro has that, and it's what I'm thinking is Emerald Rogue, where it's you do things, you level up, you get more stuff, and then you continue, rinse, repeat until you beat the entire game. Or what was that other one? Rogue's Legacy, which is very much like that. But this is a deck building game. There's a deck of cards, and you have to build a city. You have to lay out the city using the cards in your hand, there are road cards, there are, what's the other one? There's road, there's buildings, housing, power plants, for windmills and water towers and stuff like that. And you have to maintain the proper levels. At the beginning, there are 4 major things you need to keep track of. You need to keep track of your water, your electricity, your safety, and your beautification. And then as the game goes on and you get bigger, you start earning other things that you need to keep track of as well, which makes the game a little bit harder as you go on. Like education, or what's the other one? It's education or manufacturing, or really it's picking a specification for what your town's going to do, besides just exist. What's your economic engine going to be? And then it's a matter of continuing to manage resources while using these cards to alter what you have. And then to make matters a little bit harder, there are 2 other things that are going to throw wrenches in your works. there are the red cards that'll show up every once in a while, and the red cards will force you to, you have to use them within a certain amount of time, otherwise the red cards, otherwise you gain a strike. There are 3 strikes, and it's a permanent strike you can't get rid of, which the other way to get strikes is you can get it for your resources dropping down below 0. And then there is the what's the other big one? Every 8 turns, there's like a crisis meter, which will cause a random crisis to happen. There'll be a drought, or a or rolling brownouts, or a crime wave, or something like that that's going to happen. And there are cards you can get to get rid of them, and you can wait. You can use resources to get rid of them. But it's just kind of something that's going to, make it harder for you. And I think that, that's kind of what makes this game fun, is that there's a difficulty to it that we talk about the satisfying gameplay loop of playing a difficult game that can force you to think differently or think outside your gameplay style. I don't think the mechanics in this game are that particularly deep. It's really more of a math-style thing. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Merchant 64 in no other way besides just, it's deceptively deep, but not that deep. It appears to be a lot deeper than it actually is. It appears that this is going to be a game that's going to, you're going to have to sit there and get to know, everything and really do that. But it's the card variety isn't that big, and it's just kind of as long as you go in with kind of a plan, you can do pretty well. It only took me 2 gameplay tries to figure out what a solid loop was, to figure out how to play it. Because really it's just a matter of beating the RNG of what's being drawn each time. You just have to beat the RNG, which, is one of those things that's it's fun, but only fun for so long. And then once that goes away, you're oh, well, sucks to suck, I guess, a little bit. And that's the thing, is that it's because I don't think it's that particularly deep, especially even as you go on, there are alternate maps and alternate, gameplay things, kind of how there are alternate decks in Balatro. While there are these alternate things that pop up, you are going to end up in a place where it can feel repetitive after a certain point. Because it's again, there's not that much variety in what you can build. And I think that if there was more variety, the game would have more replay value. But for what it is, I think it's pretty enjoyable. Especially if you like that. If you like this gameplay loop of building. If you like city builders and you want to do a city building game in this kind of more random fashion, this is the kind of game for you. I think what the game does really well, if there's one thing that I think is above average by a substantial margin, it's a deck builder, but you're not going to get overloaded with cards that you can't use right away, which is kind of the concern. It's if you were to play Yu-Gi-Oh or something, you run the risk of if you load up your deck with really good cards, which you have no control over here, or minimal control over. If you play that and you overload your deck with good cards, they may not pop up, which is, they'll all pop up in the beginning. You're well, now what the fuck do I do? And you're waiting for stuff. That doesn't happen that often. And the other real big complaint is, I would like if the red cards had some benefit to them. I think that's probably my biggest drawback to this game, is that the red cards, which are the ones that you play, that you're forced to play under penalty, is that they all are a net negative. There's nothing that it's when you pick, it's just okay, which one of these is going to do the least damage to where I am right now based on what I've drawn so far. Where it's if you have a bunch of electricity and you have the capability, the movie theater is definitely the one you should go with, because the movie theater is just going to grab a bunch of electricity, and it's, it gives you the most time to get enough money to get it done. Or enough turns to get enough money to get it done. It's okay, well, I need to give up a little bit of everything for this. I got to give up one or two a lot, and it's just like it's basically just like this thing that comes around every once in a while. It's like, all right, now sacrifice a bunch of your resources, and you can never get them back. And it's just kind of a little bit of an annoyance, because it's like, why? What's the point of this? Besides just keeping the game from being too easy. Like, if it was something, like, a real strategy aspect of that could be, like, okay, well, you're building this town that, you're thinking down the line, you want this to be a town that's going to be good for manufacturing. Well, here are some other things that you have to build along the way that, one could be good for that, one could be not so good for that. And it's like, yeah, you're thinking about that to an extent, but it's like, they're so scattershot and random that it's like, well, what's the point of this? Like, what are we trying to do here? And I think to an extent that is to the downfall of this game. This idea that, like, yeah, we got to build this nonsense, and we got to waste time, or waste resources and turns building this shit. It's like, to what end? Because it's like, there's one where it's like the fisherman's thing, where it's like, it has to have a road on one side, and it has to have a, and it has to have a water on the other side. And it's like, okay, well, you gotta build the fisherman wharf. Alright, well, what does that get you? Nothing. Okay, fine, whatever. Or, what's the other one that's like that? The parking garage is another one that's like, the most annoying thing about the parking garage is it's gotta be surrounded on all sides by roads. And I'm like, I don't think that's how actual parking garages work. So, sure, I guess, but whatever. And just things like that. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day at work. It's just things like that don't exactly gel with, what's going on in the game. I think that, like, if it was slightly better, if those things were slightly better, and it's like these things that pop up weren't always net negatives, and there was a way where it's like, I will play with this, and I'm going to hope that this happens, or if this pops up, this falls into my plan. That kind of thing would work better than sitting there and trying to be like, well, this thing's gonna pop up, and I got to figure out how to get rid of it. And it's to take up a hand slot while you're doing it. So, not only that, but this thing's gonna take up room in your hand while you're trying to figure out how to get rid of it. But, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would highly recommend this game. I enjoyed it. I think the art style is very nice, and I think that they do a great job with that art style. I just wish that, like, there was, like, I think the one issue with it is that, like, the aesthetic is great, but you can really only get it when you're zoomed in, and when you're playing the game, being zoomed in is to your detriment, because if you're zoomed in, you can't get a full view of the entire map. So playing zoomed out is not, not great. It's not great from, like, the aesthetic point, because at that point it's like, it doesn't look like it's made of cardboard, which is the entire thing. And then when you zoom in, you're like, oh, it's cutesy, it looks nice. But at that point, it's like, well, I can't see the entire map. There's a lot more moving you got to do with the camera and all of that. I would also highly recommend, maybe it's just me, I would recommend controller, because I played both keyboard and controller. I think controller worked a lot better. And I think that, like, if that's going to be, if you're going to play this game, that's definitely the way to go. You want to, the controller, especially for something like that, which is what you wouldn't expect from a city builder. I think a lot of time when you play a city builder, you don't anticipate controls that are as intuitive as you get with this. But it works very well with a controller, all things considered, and not even all things considered. That sounds like I'm being, like, well, for a game like this, it works well. Like, no, it works well in general. And I think it's just something that we should, you should play it that way. I think that's probably the best way to play it. But But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be next week. We'll do another game. I'm not sure what game yet. And I want to talk about one more thing that we didn't really hear anything about. I think that it's just kind of disappointment for me that we didn't hear anything about it. When we launched the YouTube channel 2 months ago, youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming, MWP News Gaming, the first thing we did was Pac-Man World 2. And I really enjoyed Pac-Man World Re-Pac. I had never played Pac-Man World before playing the Re-Pac edition, and I think that, Pac-Man World Re-Pac was pretty fun. And the first game that I did when we did this was Pac-Man World 2. I really enjoyed Pac-Man World 2 as a game. And the idea that, Re-Pac is coming, a Re-Pac for Pac-Man, or a remake for Pac-Man World 2 is coming. And I found out about it over the weekend while I was on Steam, just kind of, looking at what else was available and like what was new coming down the line. It was a little disappointing for me, because I would have liked to have seen some kind of fanfare for this. Like, I get wanting to sell Shadow Labyrinth because it's the new thing with the IP. We want to do that. We're taking Pac-Man in a bold new direction. I understand all of that, but Pac-Man World 2 was a great game, and to not have this announcement. It's coming out in September. I'm definitely going to play it when it comes out in September, because it looks great. And I think a lot of the modernization things, like they completely redid the art style, they redid the world. There was one thing that I caught in the trailer that I was a little bit like, that's weird. In the third level with the canyon jumper, whatever the fuck it is, where it's like, it appears they removed the Galaxian as an item that you can collect, because you kill the bear in that, you don't get that, which means that they remove the custom Pac-Man levels too, which would be a shame, because that's part of the fun of the exploration. Let's see if we can find all of those. But I love the costume customization. I love the look around at all of the at all the various the ways you can upgrade the hub town. The challenge system is a cool idea, like bonuses you get for doing things in levels. I think we're going to play this. I think we're going to play this for the YouTube channel when it comes out. But yeah, I think we'll wrap up there for today. We'll be back next week with, maybe we'll do Venture Town, because I bought that game too recently, and I think we'll finally play it. Or we'll play, We'll talk about Archipelago and randomizers, because I've done that a bit. Like I said, we could really use your help right now if you would go to not MWP News. Well, that too, because we have ads on there. But if you go to co-fi.com/MWP News and donate to help us out, it'd be really appreciated, because part of the financial issues have been getting things situated with the car and health insurance and all of this stuff that have gone way up this year and will continue to go way up in the future, which is why we've done less. Ordinarily we would have gone to Tribeca. Ordinarily we would have gone to Stony Brook Film Festival, Life. We've done these things the last few years. We didn't do it this year. Virtual screenings at Sundance. And it's because the budget for these things had to go towards keeping the car running. I didn't have a car for 2 weeks, and it's part of why we haven't had consistent episodes, because it's just the lack of reliance there means I can't go to the movies, because I don't want to fuck the transmission up or anything like that, because the car is having the issue. And again, maybe in the future we'll get into it more, but if we can get people to donate, that would be very helpful. If you can't donate, just tell your friends about the show. Tell your friends about what we do here. Tell your friends about this and 30-minute reviews, and beware of spoilers and all of that. And see if we can get more people in on that. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. I think we're gonna have something cool coming in the next week or so. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.